Following a discussion of cookie dough Twix and Marshmallow Peeps Pepsi, the black hole of good ideas that is Discord got into a lengthy discussion of root beer, which led to me posing the following. Which root beer do I buy? Now, one person suggested the Frosty Orange shown here, but that's not root beer. They thought that was orange root beer, which might have been interesting, but not everything in this photo is root beer. Finally, I ended up buying this, maple root beer. This is maple syrup. This is just for show. This. I wrote more for this intro, including the phrase, "I'm not sure why I'm doing this," and I don't like anything I wrote. I'm just gonna drink this. This one's been chilling in the fridge. It is a twist-off cap. It just smells like root beer, like it doesn't smell mapley. I'm noticing in the label here it says fire brewed. I don't know what that means. The ingredients are water, sugar, and flavors. Bottoms up. Not very carbonated, which is fine. I think root beer is sometimes flat and sometimes not. I don't taste maple at all. It just tastes like root beer. If you said this was root beer flavored with something and gave me a dozen guesses, I would never get to maple. This just tastes like root beer. I mean, it's not bad. I don't dislike root beer. It's very sweet, obviously. It's root beer. It's a little boring, but, I mean, it's just root beer. So as I was setting up my camera and everything, I was thinking, what can I add to this video? Because it's not as interesting as the turkey soda. It doesn't sound like as much of a bad idea. And I didn't think it could possibly be as much of a bad idea. It was just root beer. And it turns out I was right. So what do you do with root beer? Root beer float? So we got the classic ingredients for a root beer float. We've got vanilla ice cream, the maple root beer, and I don't have a clear glass. I know that would have looked prettier on camera. This is metal, and it's been chilling in the freezer, so it's ice cold. Get a nice big scoop in there. Tried to make it vaguely roundish. I figured the classic root beer float has like a spheroid of ice cream. We'll do another scoop. Get in the cup. You can see my laptop that's recording the audio. Alright, now this is not especially carbonated, so I'm concerned that it's just going to go completely flat once it's added. We'll see. Oh yeah, that's all the fizz going away at once. I've got another spoon for like stirring so I don't cross-contaminate the ice cream. So, root beer float. It's vanilla ice cream and it's root beer. That was a mouthful of foam, but that was fine. Let's try again. Again, I do not remotely taste maple in here. Overall, I'm disappointed. I was hoping this would either be terrible or at least interesting. The silly thing to do would be to add maple syrup to this in some capacity and see if it's better. I'm going to drink maple root beer out of I think it's a wine glass. I think if I pour the syrup into the root beer, it's going to fizz up and possibly spill. So it'll make more sense to have the syrup in there first, pour in the root beer, and then maybe stir it. And this way, if the root beer, reacts and starts fizzing like crazy, I can just stop pouring and not make a huge mess on my table. For the record, I did not plan to add this to this root beer. I literally thought of it as I was recording this. Oh, I'm going to regret this. If I was doing this scientifically, I would have measured that. We're just going to pour it in and see what goes on here. Well, the fizz isn't going crazy, which is probably good. So that is the entire bottle of root beer into this cup. This is a 12-ounce bottle? Where on earth is the volume here? Now, I don't see an obvious pool of just maple syrup on the bottom there, but I'm going to stir it anyway just in case it didn't mix. All right, let's give this a try. It does taste sweeter. It does seem maybe a little bit thicker, although it's probably my imagination. It doesn't really taste very strongly of maple. I mean, it just tastes like sweet, and it's got that root beery I don't know, tang to it that I can't really describe. You know what? Let's just add more. That's the fizzing I was worried about. Please don't spill. Okay, I think we're good. Let's try this again. Okay, now there's a bit of a maple aftertaste, but mostly it just tastes sweet. I am not going to continue drinking this for the sake of my own health. I am probably going to finish the root beer float, though, because this is fine. I don't think I have my ratio of ingredients right. I should have added more ice cream. I don't typically just, make root beer floats at home. When I was at the grocery store, I was looking for some kind of ice cream to use with the maple root beer to make a root beer float. Ideally, maple ice cream. Couldn't find anything. The nearest that I could find was this. This is Moose Tracks. Maple Canada Moose. It's a stretch. I think this is just ice cream with stuff in it. A vanilla shake with peanut butter cups swirled with the famous Moose Tracks fudge. Yeah, it's vanilla ice cream with stuff in it. You don't want to make a root beer float with ice cream that has random crap in it. On the other hand, I do have leftover root beer. I'm going to make something stupid. Alright, so this is the cup for my blender. Technically my roommate's blender. And unfortunately, the remaining 2 root beers were not in the fridge, but since we're adding frozen ice cream to it, first of all, we're going to try this just because I've never had it before. And looking at it, it's ice cream with stuff in it. It's ice cream with stuff in it. I considered grabbing my blender and putting it on the table here, but why do you need to see my blender? I'm not sure if I'm just going to put 1 root beer in there, or part of 1, or 1.5, or 2, or what. Okay. And, of course, because this is supposed to be maple root beer, we're going to add a little bit of maple to our maple milkshake. And it's getting close to overflowing, and I'm kind of worried I won't be able to put the lid on this to make it go, so I don't know. I'll be right back. So full disclosure, this is not my blender, this is my roommate's blender, and it occurred to me, there's not much carbonation in there, but there's some, and it is in a sealed vessel, basically, and I think if I actually run it, like with the actual spinning motor, agitating it might just make it explode and make a huge mess because of pressure. So instead I'm using this thing on the bottom, which makes these little paddles on the inside spin. I assume this is for manually cranking your milkshakes. But again, I've never actually done this before. Also, it's leaking a little bit off of the lid because I did overfill it, and I'm going to have to clean this table. I don't know if you can see that from your angle, but it's still ice cream with stuff in it. I overdid it on the liquid. This is not a milkshake. This is chunky root beer float. I don't know. Let's try it. Creamy. That actually could have potentially been a decent milkshake if I'd used a better ratio of ingredients. Ironically, probably I've used too much root beer in this root beer video. And it's still not mapley at all. The little bits of chocolate from this are overriding any other flavors in there. It just tastes like ice cream with chocolate stuff in it. Honestly, the old root beer float was better. Even though it's mostly melted now. I kind of want to combine them. I'm making a mess on this table and I don't care because I need to clean it anyway. It's not bad. I kind of want to add more maple to it, but I think it's going to make it disgusting. So I'm going to draw the line here. I think we're done for the day. I gotta wash this now. I gotta wash everything. I gotta wash my hands. Still got 1 more bottle. I might hold on to this and do something with it. I wish I had kept the remaining turkey soda bottles because I had the idea as I was getting ice cream to make this root beer float. Oh, that'd be the perfect punchline. I'll make a root beer float with the turkey soda. I threw the extras away because they were disgusting. I kept them for like 2 months, 3 months, I think, just in case I thought of something to do with them. Never did. I checked at the grocery store when I was getting ice cream. It was not still there. So maybe later this year, closer to Thanksgiving, if I see it, I'll buy it and make a root beer float with it. And I'll probably regret it. Or maybe I'll forget, or maybe I won't care, or maybe you don't care. I'm going to hold on to this, though. Even though I have no idea what to do with it. I walked away for like 10 minutes to do something else and then came back to start putting this all away, and I just want to say I've already got a stomach ache.